Breaking down the North Korea crisis, with Russia warning against further sanctions on the rogue nation as China calls on the U.S. and North Korea to calm the angry rhetoric after Kim Jong-un delayed, for now, a proposed attack on the U.S. territory of Guam.
If Kim Jong-un is to reach his ultimate goal, experts say the world can expect more nuclear tests from North Korea.
Still, U.S. troops continue their exercises with Japanese military, and there are plans underway to start bigger maneuvers with South Korean forces next week.
So part of what you're referring to, the joint exercises that we routinely conduct with many of our allies around the world. Some countries have called for what we call a double freeze. Basically, if the United States stops doing its joint military exercises, then maybe we'll get something out of the DPRK, better cooperation from them. These military exercises are conducted all around the world. It's under the purview of the Department of Defense, not the State Department.
However,
we will continue to
have
conduct our joint
gotten
military
Pyongyang
exercises.
angry and have sparked more threats. The U.S. has been resisting a total cancellation of these exercises, but there are signs that maybe they're going to be tamped down a bit.
That would be a Department of Defense question if there are any changes to the tempo of those joint military exercises. Well, I think the entire world has called upon the DPRK to cease its destabilizing activities. That includes 2 ICBM tests in less than a month, 2 nuclear tests. We can't forget about that. That took place last year. So the United States, of course, talking with members of the UN Security Council. They had the unanimous vote about a week and a half ago. China saying that it will commit to fully enforcing the sanctions against the DPRK. This is not the United States versus the DPRK. This is the world looking at North Korea and saying what you are doing, the progress that they are making toward nuclear weapons and also the ballistic missiles testing is destabilizing not just for the region, but the entire world. The entire world is concerned about this, whether it be our NATO allies or our closest neighbors here in the United States to our friends and nations.
Pyongyang's weapons program is developing rapidly, but experts say it's a long way off from a critical milestone: perfecting a nuclear warhead small enough to fit on the tip of a rocket, fly over vast distances, and survive re-entry without burning up. North Korea claims it can target any part of the U.S. with a nuke, but experts say that couldn't happen with a conventional warhead, as Reuters' Christine Kim explains.
Experts believe North Korea has secured some technology to make its warhead small, but it's not quite there yet, so more testing is needed. Basically, in order for missiles to fly a long distance, anything attached to those missiles would have to be lightweight to ensure the missiles will fly for longer and farther.
That need for a lightweight nuclear payload has some thinking that Kim's scientists could be working on a hydrogen bomb, which weapons experts say would take several more nuclear tests to perfect. According to U.S. sources, evidence points to there not being an imminent threat of another North Korean nuclear test, although South Korean experts see it as inevitable, because as they put it, it's the only way for the North to ensure the survival of the Kim regime.
Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joe Dunford, continues his meetings with counterparts in China before he travels on to U.S. ally Japan. They have agreed to increase operational communications between China and the United States, especially as it relates to North Korea. Now, China is seen as a key player in getting Kim Jong-un to rein in his bad missile and nuclear programs. It's thought that Beijing's moves to cut North Korean imports, as well as some very muscular talk from the White House, has pushed the regime to back off on those threats against the U.S. territory Pacific island of Guam.
All of the theft of intellectual property, we have started to do that.
We sanctioned one Chinese bank. We saw the president just recently say, look, enough is enough on the intellectual property. Is it that's actually going to start to spark enough fear in China so that we can deal with North Korea?
Trish, those are small things. At this point in time, it's not going to be onesies and twosies. With a program led by the Secretary of State, an across-the-government effort to develop a comprehensive and in-depth set of sanctions needs to be put together across the government, so that when we're ready in about 30 to 60 days, we go to China and say, you want to know something? The time for incremental measures is over. The opportunity for getting this under control is now your responsibility. These are the consequences if you are not going to be part of the solution. And they need to be put in place, lump sum, to take China's breath away so that they understand we cannot, as a nation, tolerate a country who is offensively threatening us with nuclear weapons, something that's never happened before in our history. It is time to begin these sanctions.
You know, we don't see a tremendous amount of willingness. I think things have changed. I think Donald Trump has indicated he will do this. But in other words, it means us sort of taking some hits as well, economically speaking, and maybe not getting so many cheap goods from China, etc.
If that's what it takes, I firmly believe that if the American people understood the severity of this threat, and I don't want to sound like Chicken Little and the sky is falling, but this is a fundamentally different threat than our nation has had to face before. It is going to continue to build. It comes upon 30 years of failed policies by successive administrations that have been unable to contain it. President Trump is now going to have to deal with it, and he's going to deal with it comprehensively and decisively.
Wow.
The ramifications of not doing that are just too severe.
Well, we've already started to see some change, so let's hope that all lasts. So good to see you. Thank you for being here, sir.
I actually have two questions. Last weekend, the former director of national intelligence, James Clapper, he told CNN that, and I quote, he doesn't think a denuclearized DPRK is in the cards. And I quote, he said, he thinks our process ought to be on accepting it and trying to cap it or control it. What is your comment on that?
Well, let me first mention this, that he's the former, no longer serving the U.S. government in that kind of capacity. Secretary Tillerson, along with his administration, have been clear that we will not accept a nuclearized North Korea. There's no one who knows those threats better than the neighbors of North Korea. The United States shares the concerns that our Japanese and that our South Korean allies all face, okay, the security threat of North Korea. We do not believe that there is a place for a nuclearized North Korea. And I don't think there's anyone in the U.S. government or anyone in the world who would like to see the DPRK go forward with its threats to do anything to U.S. territories or any other nation or ally of ours. So we are certainly on the same page. No one wants what the DPRK has threatened.